Smash!
I think it's safe to say in a lot of ways we're living in one of the best times to be a miniature painter. If you're a new artist struggling to figure out how to paint something, you have an endless sea of platforms that have tips, tricks, amazing artists, and a plethora of hyper-specific tutorials dedicated to painting that one specific thing. In turn, that's where it becomes kind of a negative. Like with everything on YouTube, it's a bloated platform. There's a lot of content out there, and there's a lot of people that are struggling to compete with one another to stay relevant. This video is recorded around the 10-year anniversary of when I started painting, so I've been around the block for a while. I'm not the best painter, but I like to think I know a thing or two. And a big thing I have to thank is I had a lot of artists that I grew up watching. Some of these guys you may not recognize, but I'm sure a lot of them you will. A lot of these channels have branched out from their initial niche that started them out. Like most successful channels, a lot of these guys started out with a very specific series in mind to really get their feet off the ground. Good example is Scott's Heavy Metal series, which I really miss. I understand why he stopped doing it though. That isn't to say that being experimental throughout your entire career is something you need to do, but once you've kind of branched out from that initial series, you're allowed to be more creative and do more experimental things as you have an established audience. And I'm kind of more specifically talking about YouTube in terms of being a career. A lot of these guys' videos never really interlink with one another. They're kind of just sporadic, cool challenges, new ideas. They're very random. And I think a lot of people really like that in the hobby space. Hell, I do. But maybe this is kind of a limited view on it, but I feel as if the classic long drawn-out painting tutorials are kind of a thing of the past. That isn't to say that one once in a while doesn't blow up to significant proportions. There's definitely people that still do them. But I feel like the more medium-based content is not really where it's at anymore. And I'm not just saying from my experience. I know for a fact that my niche nowadays is kit bashing along with painting, but it seems like people just don't really attract to painting tutorials as much as they used to. And I think it's because painting tutorials effectively have become more effective in teaching you the basics that a lot of newer painters that I know are able to kind of grasp and be more creative in their own right without having to follow more structured tutorials. There's been enough content out there that basically people are able to apply their knowledge more effectively than what you would have been able to 10 years ago. I don't know, maybe I'm talking out of my butt with that. But my greater point is there seems to be this influx of content that really favors speed painting. And that isn't to say that I have a problem with speed painting. Hell, I did a video on it. But something I kind of have a problem with is something Podger actually covered. Check out his video afterwards too. I'll put a link in the description. But the thing is there's a lot of videos out there that showcase speed painting, and it's very deceptive in the way that it's presented. There's a lot of production that goes into making miniatures look good on camera, but if you were to handle these miniatures in real life, they probably wouldn't look nearly as impressive. And hey, I'm not the kind of guy that really thinks there's anything as a badly painted miniature. Well, within reason. But especially presenting them in the style of a painting tutorial, I think it just comes off as really lame. And that's another bigger reality of painting tutorials online, especially on Instagram and YouTube. Anything to do with shorts, you have to really take into account that these projects are not going to take 20 seconds. We all know this subconsciously, but miniature painting takes time. When you see things like that, it gives you a little bit of a dopamine rush. You think, wow, this looks cool, I'm gonna get this done. And you end up sitting there waiting for the paint to dry, and you're just twiddling your thumbs. Now, to be fair, when it comes to my inspiration, I'm either an ADHD gibbon, or I can sit down and really hunker on one miniature for 3 or 4 days. I guess at the end of the day, what I dislike most about this is I know a lot of young painters that get this impression that they feel like they're way too slow with their painting, and all it is that they're learning the process of getting into the actual hobby. If you want your stuff to look good, you're gonna have to take time on it. There's no in between. Speed painting really is a relative term. Now onto the thing that I really dislike. Yep, this is why you clicked on the video. I strongly dislike the terminology of "I fixed something" in the hobby. It sounds so pretentious to me, and it's always coupled with one of those hideous Mr. Beast-esque thumbnails. Like with most videos, no disrespect to the man, just the product. Surprisingly, this is my opinion. I just really don't like these types of videos. Sure, once in a while you'll find one that actually has something worthwhile, but you can't tell me the terminology is not incredibly elitist. I know some people use it as a meme, but for the most part it isn't. It just kinda tells me that you think your opinion is greater than everybody else's. When you kit bash a Marine to make it look slightly different and kind of pose him differently, it doesn't mean you fixed anything, you just made another figure. I know some people think I'm a little harsh when it comes to this. I know I make fun of this a lot and it has become a meme in my server, but I truly hate this terminology. Also, holy god, these thumbnails are obnoxious. And I really don't like saying that because I really do feel bad anytime I kinda dump on somebody's creativity. But at the same time, a lot of these videos end up using the same negative terminology. Do you suck at painting? Are your miniatures terrible? And personally, I don't think that's very good constructive criticism. You just sound like you're up your own ass. And I know why these kinds of videos pop off. A lot of people are more willing to click on a negative thing than a positive thing. But I don't really know why you would want to watch somebody that's talking down to you openly. We all had to start somewhere. And not everybody has the raw talent to just paint instantly photorealistic miniatures. I've known too many people that have walked away from this hobby, and every time I see somebody talking down to somebody else that doesn't paint as well as they do, using air quotations for that, it sickens me. Miniature painting is something that centers me personally. I truly love this hobby, and it's got me through some of the worst times of my life. And yes, I am self-aware. I know the biggest part of this is just kind of how YouTube is nowadays. Having thumbnails and titles like this is kind of the norm because that's what gets clicks. And that's kind of the unfortunate reality. It's become very clear that a lot of these channels aren't exactly going for painting the miniatures to the best of their ability, but more so to do it commercially. Especially ones that are going for commission painting. I know that it takes a lot of time to actually paint a full army, and you have to be efficient. And there is a time crunch inherently when you're painting for YouTube. But it becomes very apparent when you're painting for YouTube and not yourself. Especially these channels that like to badmouth GW but still paint their miniatures and buy them by the dozens. Or get big free boxes from Games Workshop. And yes, I do paint their miniatures, but I don't buy them directly. Use eBay. Or a local game store. But that's another thing. Sponsorships. Obviously there's plenty of people that take a lot of sponsorships, and they're pretty genuine with their reactions. But usually whenever a channel is being sponsored by some sort of new product or new fad, they treat it and refer to it as if it's some sort of guru goddess idol that will change their life forever, and then you never end up seeing it on their channel again. Wonder why that is. But if there's one message that I really want to drive home, is that a lot of these channels didn't used to be like this. A lot of them just started as people painting miniatures. And they had a lot of hopes, dreams, and creativity. The problem is now is a lot of these channels end up blurring together for me. They all have the same presentation, thumbnails, same projects and challenges, and it just feels like they're appealing to committee. I'm not naming a lot of people by name on purpose, but a big thing of this is I used to like a lot of these channels because of the people behind them. It's not just the miniatures, and it's not just the painting. It's the heart and soul that's put into these channels. And for a lot of them, it feels like it's been replaced with the desire to appeal to an algorithm. Maybe that's just what happens to certain people when they turn their hobby into a job. But that's not exactly why you started painting miniatures to begin with, is it? You started painting them because you wanted to tell a story. I know for a fact a lot of the things I'm complaining about in this video are more root causes from YouTube and the internet as a whole, but this thing is now actively affecting something I care very deeply for. And no, I'm not saying every successful miniature painter on the platform is some sort of elitist prick. But if any bigger channels are watching this right now, I want you to really think about this. Next time you think about doing a huge project for your channel, I want you to really think on whether or not this is a project that'll actually make you happy, that'll make you proud, not the algorithm. Strive to be the best possible artist you can be. Because I know you're capable of greatness. All of us are. That little message I leave at the end of all my videos is something I truly believe in. You all have an artist within you. An artist that is more than capable to mishmash, kit bash, and paint some fantastic miniatures. And you're gonna. I promise. See ya.